In the world of Hollywood, movies get greenlit and redlit. They get remade and rebooted. But we are the ideal. I'm Sam Gasch, and you are listening to Ideal Remake. Thank you for listening to Ideal Remake. We take movies that either have been, will be, or should be remade and talk about what the ideal version of that remake would be. In this episode, we are putting our returning guest, Kevin Mosteller, to the test. Kevin, are you ready?
I am ready.
Good. Someone gives you a calfskin wallet for your birthday. How do you react?
I report them to the police.
Your little boy shows you his butterfly collection, plus the killing jar. What do you say?
I would take him to the doctor.
You're watching television. Suddenly you spot a wasp crawling on your arm. How do you react? You kill it. Kill it dead?
Kill it dead.
While walking along in desert sand, you suddenly look down and see a tortoise crawling toward you.
Tortoise.
You
What's
reach
that?
down. Do you know what a turtle is?
Yeah.
Exactly the same thing.
Never seen a turtle, but I know what you mean.
Good. You reach down and flip it over onto its back. The tortoise lies there, its belly baking in the hot sun, beating its legs, trying to turn itself over. But it cannot do so without your help. You are not helping.
What do you mean I'm not helping?
Why?
What do you mean I'm not helping it?
I mean, you're not flipping the tortoise over. Why aren't you flipping the tortoise over? And finally, is Bladerunner a movie that has been, will be, or should be remade?
It has not been. I don't think it should be either at this point. I feel like it should stand on its own. I'm sure at some point we're going to get to the place where they adapt its source material, the novel.
Right.
Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep? But I don't know if, this movie is going to be directly remade, unless it's by us.
That's probably fair. How well do you think you've done?
I feel like I passed maybe 80%.
Right.
I think I got a B.
80% human?
80% human, which is weird because the eye thing started blipping on me, and I'm kind of scared that you're going to shoot me from across the table here.
It's such a weird test, but it's an empathy test, right? That's how it's supposed to work?
Yeah, it's supposed to be an empathy test, yeah.
Which is crazy because then the whole rest of the movie is establishing that replicants have empathy.
Right. That they learn. It's like a learned thing, right?
Right. But that's true of humanity in general anyway. I mean, humans don't really start having empathy until they're older than 4 years old.
Exactly. And I feel like that's the kind of the one of the many layers of this movie is that these androids have the capability to learn, but the suppression of them is they don't want them learning because I'm sure uprising and there goes humanity.
But also it's like once they have the ability to learn and once they start becoming good people, then they die.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah.
Because toddlers are the worst.
They are.
They're monsters.
They are. And if you look at these guys, these characters, they are like toddlers. They're just big, strong toddlers that can't feel pain, which is a pretty terrifying monster, actually.
It really is.
Yeah.
So tell me about how this is the fourth time you've been on the podcast?
Yeah.
Because I don't think we can ever do an episode where you don't do then another episode within a month.
That's how it works, yeah.
Good,
yeah.
all right.
I feel like I've been promoted to recurring role.
I believe so.
Sweet.
I think so, yeah.
Yay.
Hey, bumping everything.
All right.
Why Blade Runner? Because this was because you reached out to me to do this episode. What was the impetus behind that?
The impetus behind that is because here we are in sunny Los Angeles in the year 2019 in the month of November, which means Blade Runner is happening right now.
Yes.
As you know, movies dictate our future, and here we are in Blade Runner.
It's wild that there's a movie currently happening in the present, because every time it's movies in near future, recent past, it's never a movie that's happening right now.
Right.
And that's what this is.
Yeah, here we are. There are replicants running through downtown as we speak.
Probably.
I
mean, have you checked out the Bradbury building? Because it's real cool.
Yeah, it is actually really cool.
Yeah.
But there are lots of weird replicants in
there. Yeah, and mannequins and other things that dude just made.
Yeah, pretty
sitting there with their terrified eyes.
Weird toy soldiers walking through the...
That's a weird movie.
It is an interesting movie. There's a lot of layers to strip away on it.
Yes. So tell me when you first saw Blade Runner.
So I saw Blade Runner as I've mentioned before on this podcast. I was the video store kid that went through everything.
Sitting here in your They Live t-shirt.
I am sitting here in a They Live t-shirt, which is another one that I rented from Blockbuster Video in probably 1994. No, actually, I had read about Blade Runner first before I'd seen the movie. There used to be these fanzines in the 80s, late 70s, early 80s, One was called Fangoria, and that was for horror, like a horror fanzine. They actually just came back. They're just like their third publication.
Oh, weird.
Their
cool.
third issue with Us on the cover, Jordan Peele's Us. But they used to be like the all-encompassing for horror movies. That's where you'd get your news. That's where you'd get your, like, you know, if you go to this theater at midnight in Los Angeles at this certain point, it's going to be screening Evil Dead 2 or something, right?
That's cool.
Also, alternately, for science fiction, there was Starlog, which has been out of publication for probably decades now. There used to be this bookstore not far from my house in Anaheim.
There's a certain irony to a science fiction publication now existing purely in the past.
Exactly. And what I'm about to say adds on to that, because I would go buy the used ones for $1.
The back copies?
The back copies, they weren't even being published when I was doing this. So they were all old, from the past, news on science fiction films.
Fantastic.
And I remember a specific episode from like 1982, or issue rather,
sure.
from I think it was 82, that had Blade Runner as a feature in the book, and there was a couple other things, like Heart Beeps with Andy Kaufman or something like that. And I remember Escape from New York being in it too, which is where I read about Escape from New York. Another one of my favorite movies.
Another movie I have not seen.
Yeah, well, if you're ever interested in remaking it.
All right, I'll add it to the list.
So
see you in a month. Cool.
Sorry.
No, I was going to say, have you read Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep?
I have read Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep.
It's similar but different.
It is.
It's not as necessarily far off as like something like iRobot.
Right.
So this one's not that different, but it is still different.
It's different in terms of it's very 60s sci-fi.
Yeah.
It's a very 60s, which Philip K. Dick excelled in.
Right.
This movie also, like, I read it because I became such a fan of the movie as a kid. I read about it in a Starlog, rented the video. It was the original version, which there's like 5 different versions of this movie.
Which is the version that you loaned to me to watch?
I loaned you the final cut, which is Ridley Scott's, like... We went through, we transferred it, we fixed some of the things that we didn't like, and this is my final vision of the film.
Right.
Whereas it wasn't. Like, if you want to know the back history, it was wrestled from him in 81 when they were filming. They were working, like, 16-hour days.
Oh, no.
I know, right? But they were working overtime to finish this film because there was going to be a director's strike, and they would lose Ridley Scott if the director's strike happened. That cost them an extra $5 million over budget, so it was taken from him anyway.
Got it.
As a result of that, we got this goofy kind of narration that's long been omitted from the film.
That's right. So the first version of this that I ever saw, I believe I got as a DVD from Netflix. Because when I first moved to LA, it's come up a couple times on the podcast before, where the movie that we're watching is a movie I first watched on my own, just trying to get caught up on cinema I never saw as a kid.
Sure.
Or when I was younger. And I feel like the version of Blade Runner that I initially saw had the narration in it.
Yeah.
So I think this was a different version.
Yes. Yeah. This is the one that's kind of like widely recognized as like the final version.
Because my understanding, and I'm open to being extremely wrong about this, was that this is the version that is Ridley Scott's version of the final version, but then like the fans prefer like version 2 or something.
There are different schools of thought. There's a lot with this. Some people really like the narration because it adds to the kind of film noir,
the depth in the lore,
detective.
That is very noir. That's true.
Yeah, like that kind of Sam Spade thing to it. But if you listen to it, Harrison Ford's really purposely phoning it in, hoping that they wouldn't use it, and they used it anyway. And he's flat the entire time, and
that might sort of fit his character
a little bit.
So a little bit shooting himself in the foot.
Yeah.
But yeah.
But and then they tacked on this really, really bad happy ending to it, which was footage of The Shining. It was like stock footage used for The Shining, where they leave and there's like maybe 30 seconds in the car of Harrison Ford and Rachel, Sean Young. And there's a narration of him going, it's very airy and bright and breezy, nothing like the city that we saw.
Wait, isn't that also the thing that they do at the end of Brazil?
Yes. Brazil also had an alternate ending, like tacked onto it.
Because I feel like I remember it from one of them, but possibly both of them.
Yeah.
Of just them driving down a highway past a series of ads until finally they get past the ads and you get to see the actual...
city, right? The
actual landscape, I was going to say. But yeah.
Sorry. But yeah, Brazil was the same thing.
Weird.
It was, the studio took it from the creator and was like, this is way too dark. It doesn't... we
don't want people leaving angry.
Right, or sad.
So
we're going to make it so, they're not. And it doesn't work for that. It didn't fit the film tonally at all. You watch it, and he's got like this narration going like, oh no, so this is the special replicant. Rachel is the special replicant, the one that I'm in love with, who doesn't have a lifespan of 4 years and will live forever as long as I do. And which
is in direct contrast to the content of the movie when Tyrell says, we tried, did everything you're saying, it just didn't work.
Yeah, I know. And it didn't, that's the thing, is it didn't work. The ending didn't work.
So then, I've seen Blade Runner 2049, and I like Blade Runner 2049.
I agree with that.
Which version is that a sequel to?
So that is a sequel to this final cut.
It's a sequel to the final cut, because in that version, Rachel only lives the 4 years.
Yes, because she is the one in the box, right? And spoiler alert, she's the body in the box at the farm that they find. I
think so, yeah. I've only seen it once, and I went to a WGA screening of it, and there was a talk back with the two writers. So the writer of the original, who's nuts.
He is, absolutely.
And then the guy Hampton who kind of Fancher? Did the adaptation. Sorry. But yes. What was his name?
Hampton Fancher. Yeah.
That's a great name.
Because it fits him perfectly. He is like one of those old school sci-fi writers. Like in the 60s, there were these like slightly insane, like Ray Bradbury, Phil K. Dick was one of them, Harlan Ellison. He fits that bill. Like he's just those like kind of a little off. No offense to the guy.
Not at all, but absolutely off.
Yeah, perfect for science fiction.
But yeah.
Absolutely nuts. Which 2049, by the way, I do feel is one of the best films of this decade. Of teens? What are we in the teens now?
Ooh, well, almost. It's about to be 2020 in less than 60 days.
That's true. Jeez.
A month and a half, it'll be 2020.
New decade.
Start of the roaring 20s.
Hey.
Roar.
Flappers are going to come back.
So I'm actually looking at the IMDb Pro page, and it's talking about the budget versus the opening weekend versus kind of the overall gross. Do you know what the budget of this movie was?
I know it was high for Warner Brothers at the time. I don't know the exact number.
What's your guess?
35 mil, maybe?
That's a good guess. The answer is 28 million.
28 mil, okay.
Opening weekend, it made 6 million.
Yeah.
The worldwide gross is 41, so that's technically a flop.
Yeah, it was actually widely considered a big bomb when it first came out.
But the thing is that since then, it must have made that money back.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely made its money back. It's one of those ones that became a cult classic because of home video.
Right, okay.
Like, nobody saw it when it came out. And I think even though it was a bomb, it got an Oscar nom for special effects, I think. It lost to E.T., if I remember correctly.
Amazing. Nominated for 2 Oscar awards.
Oh, 2. Okay.
It was 1983 Academy Awards. It was nominated for Best Art Direction and nominated for Best Effects / Visual Effects.
Yeah, okay. So that feels right. Pretty arduous process.
I forgot Rutger Hauer died this year.
He did, that's
right. Like recently, within the last couple of months.
Yeah. God, I forgot about that. I love Rutger Hauer.
Yeah, I mean, he's done a bunch of things that you enjoy.
Yeah, he does.
Oh, that's wild. Oh, that's right, because everyone was saying that, like, he died at the it might have been even the beginning of this month, where in Blade Runner he dies in November 2019, and then Rutger Hauer died in November of 2019.
No, it was a couple months ago.
It was a couple months ago, but it was really close.
It was either late August or September. He
died in the year that he died in the movie.
Yeah.
Which is pretty nuts.
That's foreshadowing for you, I guess.
I guess.
Life works in weird ways. I don't know.
Yeah, there you go. So then talk to me a little bit about what you had in mind for a possible remake.
So,
for me, theoretically, I feel like we can pull things from the movie as it exists, from the book, and from the sequel, because I think all of that's fair game.
I agree with that. 100%. And I do feel that a lot of the themes that they subtly explored should kind of be brought out more.
Yeah,
I guess is what I'm trying to say. Like the climate change theme.
Absolutely.
there's a level of
upper classes take advantage of the working classes, which is
absolutely.
very much what this is.
Rampant capitalism. I mean, come on, the guy who owns the company lives in a pyramid. Like, there's no at the top,
literal
of a
pharaoh.
Yeah, exactly.
Which I guess it's a good place to die and be buried.
Sure. I mean, doesn't have to go
that's
far.
that's what the pyramids are for, right?
Just take the elevator down.
Hey.
Well, he shouldn't have built it that way.
No.
And there are there are themes like it's almost like a racist metaphor for the way that they treat these robots.
Oh, it absolutely is.
I really would like to.
I mean, they already have a term of derision for them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and there's also there's even the scene where they do the first empathy test, the Voight-Kampff test with Rachel, and she leaves the room, and he immediately starts referring to her as it.
Yep.
And that right there, I feel like that's his personal journey. Is kind of beating that racist detective out of him.
Yeah. Well, sort of.
Sort of.
I mean, I feel like he's also learned. So for me, when I first saw this movie, they ended up doing something that was a lot more apparent in the sequel. Because I watched the first movie by myself, on my own. I got my own interpretations from it.
Sure.
That had nothing to do with what was intended or whatever. It was just, what is the message I get from it?
Mm-hmm.
And the way it worked for me when I was watching was we were trying to decide if Deckard is himself a replicant.
Yes, that is one theme that I was going to bring up, actually, that I would be fun to explore more in this remake.
Right, because they certainly do that in Blade Runner 2049.
They do. And it also kind of negates it a little bit, too, on both sides. You're
trying
still,
to do the same
still
thing
kind
twice.
of unsure a little bit. I left unsure, too.
Well, Blade Runner 2049 confirms that Decker's human.
Yes. But at the same time, he had a child with a replicant.
Right.
Is that possible? A human...
Well, that's what they were saying. That's part of the reason why the child was compelling, because it proves that these two are the same.
Sure.
And also, it's she also kind of doesn't have an immune system.
Right. So there are pluses and
Spoilers,
minuses.
by the way, for Blade Runner 2049.
Yeah, if you haven't seen the movie from, 3 years ago now? 2 years?
Something like that. I don't remember.
2017?
Probably 20 years ago. 20 years ago. 2 years ago.
I don't know. It doesn't matter. No, but I think if we can kind of wipe all that and explore that more, that's one of the more fascinating things in the original Blade Runner that the sequel kind of put the kibosh on for me.
I agree with that as well.
I feel like, and I know they cobbled it together in the director's cut. The original version of the director's cut had a clip of the unicorn in it, where he's dreaming of this unicorn, and that was supposed to symbolize an implant, but the unicorn was from some other footage, some other movie, I think. They spliced it in.
Oh,
May
weird.
have been Legend.
I don't know that at all. But I think it'd be interesting if the replicants are treated very, very poorly, and then Deckard similarly is treated very, very poorly, which he kind of is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, there's the whole Edward James Olmos character who comes in and is like, you gotta go do this thing. And he's like, all right, what are you gonna do?
Yeah.
I'm making you do this thing. So, I mean, he's kind of like going around, and then the Edward James Olmos character is like, enjoy the time you've got. And I never fully grasped who that person was. And in my head, that guy very easily could have been like the Fight Club, just totally in his head sort of character.
Interesting.
I know he's not, especially because he's leaving the little origami things everywhere.
Right.
But if he's kind of just always there, always watching, what's his deal?
That's fascinating. I was going to go the other spectrum where he is the Blade Runner who is investigating Deckard.
Oh. That's more interesting. We'll do that.
Yeah, that was kind of
I like that better.
Almost like... I mean, I know this isn't something that we would show the audience in this remake, but almost like they had a meeting, him and the sergeant. I don't know,
the sergeant. The guy I didn't recast because I don't care about him.
Oh, he's great. I mean,
probably.
But the captain, we'll go with captain.
I only had so much time for this.
That's fair. That's totally fair. So did I. So, but it's almost like the captain called him in and is like, look, I need you to watch this guy. We've got this thing that's kind of a simpler thing, but he might be part of the bigger thing that's what you're going to be looking into while he's doing this.
Right. But then Deckard retires either Roy or Zora later, and then the captain comes in and goes, you're done. And Deckard's like, there's 2 or 3 more of these.
No, he doesn't say you're done. Oh, you mean in this remake?
No. In the original, he did that. In the one I watched, and Deckard was like, no, there's 3 more.
No, he said there's 4. So he was confirming that was the captain's way of confirming to the audience that that Rachel was a replicant, that Rachel vanished.
Right. Well, what he said was that he said, "You're done. You got them." And Deckard's like, "No, I didn't. I just got this one." And then the sergeant goes, "Yeah, but you also identified this other one who's on the run now." Huh. And so we already know about her. We'll get her soon. We already know what's going on with her. And so as far as I think he was concerned, as soon as Deckard took out Zora, it was over.
Oh, no.
And
that's not what I... No,
because that's the impression I got.
The conversation that he had was, he says 3 more to go or something. Or it's no, he says 4 more to go. And then Deckard goes, there's only 3 more. And then he says, no, that one that you
the one who did the runner, got it,
is gone. Yeah, she took off. They vanished. Didn't even know she was a replicant. So it was just letting him know that, hey, you only got 3 more, buddy. Keep going. Good job. Yeah. And then he's immediately attacked.
Right. Got it. I didn't do it for my recasting, but part of me kind of wanted to combine Zora and Leon because they kind of get taken out at the exact same time and they both kind of serve the same purpose. They
do. I agree. So part of that plot, though, part of the plot of him being maybe he is the 4th replicant is that they, if you know, like, and I just noticed this the first time, like I'd read this theory before that Zora was not a replicant, that she was a person that he mistook for a replicant, and he was actually the 4th replicant that they were talking about.
That's a good theory. I like that. Because they never test her.
They don't, and if
she just runs,
right?
Which why wouldn't she?
Exactly, some creepo in her dressing room, right?
Yeah,
who doesn't identify himself as a police officer at all
at any point. Theoretically, I feel like there should have been someone she should have gone to, been like, "Hey, this guy's bothering me."
Yeah, exactly.
It would have been interesting if that person turned out to be Leon.
Yeah, then of course,
then that would have confirmed it. But yeah, that's true. They never actually confirmed that Zora is. The only thing that confirms it for me in the movie is that Leon is really upset that she was killed.
Exactly. That is the only thing.
And like the snake scale at the previous.
The snake scale, yes, but if you, I know I looked this time and she didn't. When he has the picture printed out of her, she didn't have a tattoo on her cheek. And then when he shoots her and she goes running through the glass and hits the ground, the cop turns her dead cheek and there's a snake tattoo on her jaw. And I took that as like, oh, maybe that was supposed to be a...
Oh, I saw that in other scenes like she'd previously had.
Oh, she did have it? Oh, okay. Never mind then. Well, there goes that theory.
Yeah, it's a good theory, but she did have it previously.
Here I am digging deep into
No, you're doing good. Part of the reason why I bring Zora up, and also because I kind of want to pull in the book a little bit more, is kind of the origin of the title, Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep?
Right.
Because the book also, is he a replicant or not?
Yeah.
Because one of the aspects of the book is that everybody in this future world has a pet.
Yes, and it's almost like an elite status thing to where the size of the pet that you have is like how much money you have.
And even more so, if it's real, it's even a more... Yeah. I can't believe you were able to afford a real cow.
You're Bill Gates, you have a real owl or a
real
cat.
Right, that's the thing.
You know, yeah.
And so so different people in the book have different pets. Like there's the Tyrell's owl, there's Zora's snake. Mm-hmm. And so Deckard, over the course of the book, is dreaming of owning a sheep. That's all he wants. Yes. He just wants a sheep. And if he's real, it's do android, but would he want to own an android sheep if he's an android? That sort of thing.
Exactly. So is it a question of almost slave ownership in a weird way?
It is, but also I like the idea because kind of in the same way that like his Dark Materials Golden Compass, which I think started airing and I should probably watch, the animal that you choose is indicative of who you are as a person. And I like the shorthand of that of... oh, this is the sort of thing that you like, therefore we kind of get a sense of who you are.
Yeah, okay.
Like Tyrell sees himself as being wise, so he got an owl.
Sure. Oh, that makes sense. So Deckard would be a sheep, then.
Yeah.
And what do sheeps do? Follow?
Just follow orders. Just do whatever they're told.
Right. So
eat the grass.
That's fascinating. I've been reading that book since I was like 12 years old, and I never made that connection.
I'm not sure that's a connection in the book. I think that's something that we can use.
Oh, absolutely.
And reading the book, that was something, I'm just like animals.
Yeah,
and
well, same.
That said, I want to avoid chances of animal cruelty, but I also think that that's a fun shorthand for the characters.
Yeah, it's a great way to introduce them. which pet they own, right?
Yeah.
Or what they're dreaming of.
Detective Pikachu did that really well.
Really?
Well,
I have not seen Detective Pikachu.
Well, whatever Pokemon you have is kind of indicative of... I don't know. I'm just making fun.
Oh, okay. I haven't seen it, so I'm just going to go
Want to borrow it? I've got it over here.
Okay.
It's going to be great.
All right.
No.
Hey, I love me some bad movies, man. So
How dare you?
Oh, hey? So I'm not just calling this,
It's fine. It's fine.
not
Whatever. We're done
movie.
here, right?
Yeah. All right.
But so what are some other... So let's drill down a little bit deeper.
Okay.
So we've talked about kind of the capitalism and the environmentalism and everything. Is there anything that's kind of like at the core aspect of this movie that we haven't talked about yet? I
feel like humanity is the core of this movie.
Okay.
Humanity.
And what defines humanity?
Yes, exactly.
And what humanity be manufactured?
Yeah, that's a part of it as well. Can humanity be manufactured? What is humanity and what constitutes being human is kind of the more... I'm going to quote a different movie because that kind of hit the same theme on the head from Terminator 2.
Okay.
At the end, she's driving and there's we prevented the future from happening for the first time in my life. It's like a dark road ahead of me. I don't know what to expect. The finishing words are, if a machine can learn how to be human, maybe we can too. Or something along those lines.
That's a good line.
It is a really good line. I'm paraphrasing. I'm probably missing it. But that's kind of the theme of this movie, in that really, really heart-wrenching moment at the end where our villain dies and he's feeling sympathy for him.
I mean, he rescued Deckard.
Yeah.
Deckard was going to die, and Roy pulled him up and said, you probably don't need to die.
Sure. And I feel like that's the most human thing. I feel like he was teaching him a lesson. He never really meant to kill him. He wanted him to live in fear, which is what all the replicants at one point in this movie say.
Yeah.
It's quite an experience to live in fear, isn't it? Just to kind of show him what he causes, right?
Absolutely.
And whether or not Deckard is a replicant in this, and,
maybe he is, maybe he isn't.
Maybe he is, maybe he isn't, but he still needs that lesson.
I think so.
That lesson of humanity, especially if he's just essentially a killing machine. It's, if he is just this detective whose sole job is to retire replicants, right? Which is essentially murder. Right?
A machine whose job it is to stop other machines.
Right, essentially. Although he is a human machine.
Well,
right?
there's also what is the definition of a machine? It's just something that someone or something that performs a repetitive task.
Oh, there you go. Okay.
Because that's the definition of that is the definition of a machine, right? Something just a repetitive task over and over again.
Yeah.
And if that's what he is, that's all he does.
Then he is himself a machine. Yeah.
An organic machine versus a manufactured bioorganic,
bioengineered,
right?
Yeah,
but a machine's still a machine. Doesn't matter what it's made out of.
Right. Exactly. That's very true, and especially in this instance where they are bioorganic, they're the same.
Right.
It's just you come from traditional means, whereas you come from a lab.
Yeah. Theoretically, the humans are able to heal and able to function for a while,
sure.
But the bioorganic versions of that don't quite mesh as well, and so that's why they break down and have a shorter lifespan.
Right, and one of the things that I noticed too about the replicants is they all have something unique to what they were designed for, right? Like the Leon character, they said that he was like an ammunition loader or something like that.
Yeah, like he could lift 400 pounds or something.
Yeah, and so it shows how strong he is. Like, he can't feel. Like, Deckard hits him a bunch of times and he just comes right back because he has no feeling.
Right.
Like, he doesn't feel the pain.
Correct.
So they're engineered for, whatever task they were. The pleasure model was Zora, right? She winds up being the stripper.
Right.
With a snake show. Who knows what they're doing, but it's weird.
They made an announcement.
Yeah, I know. It's an uncomfortable announcement, but
yeah.
So she is basic pleasure model, et cetera, et cetera. Like, they were almost programmed in a weird way to do their jobs.
Well, if they can only be around for 4 years, and if they come out of the mold fully formed in this shape, what shape do you make these certain people?
Sure.
And there was a moment in Blade Runner 2049 where... What's the bad guy Joker's name again?
Jared
Leto, thank you. Where Jared Leto's having this conversation with his second in command where, they have this plastic bag, kind of altered carbon style with a replicant in it. The person comes out, this poor woman's, standing around like she doesn't understand what's going on. he looks at her and then just stabs her. It's like, all right, she's dead. Cool, it's rock and roll.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like just a fully formed human just got pooped out of a bag, and then he's like, nah, whatever, dead.
Yeah.
And it's just the lack of empathy and the lack of recognizing these other creatures as human and sentient life forms.
Which I feel like is the theme one of the themes that is like Deckard's journey.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Whereas like these machines, and that's kind of what I meant with the Terminator quote, but these machines they have empathy whereas he doesn't, right? Mm-hmm. He's referring to them as it. He views them as, what was the line, a benefit or a hazard? And if it's a benefit, it's not my problem.
Yeah.
So that's kind of his worldview. He has no empathy at all. I mean, which even boils down to the most uncomfortable scene in the movie where he's assaulting Sean Young.
Right.
He doesn't consider her a person.
Right.
He has no empathy for her.
And it's not until he like goes back later and realizes he was worried that she was dead. And he was like, oh, I guess I'm glad you're alive.
Yeah. And I do truly care for you, even though you're not like me.
Right. What a novel concept.
I know, right?
And then in 2049, there's kind of this like spectrum of poles that Ryan Gosling can go towards. He can either go to the Jared Leto complete lack of empathy, or he can go towards the Dave Bautista.
Mm-hmm. Almost wise kind of. Yeah.
Like a being that is almost pure empathy.
Right. Like
realize that he will put himself in danger by helping, but must help because it's the right thing to do.
Right. Which makes it all the more tragic that he's only executed because of what he is.
Right.
Or who he is.
Exactly.
You know? So.
Dave Bautista needs more work.
He does.
Anyway, he's great.
Yeah, especially in that movie. Man, he showed so many layers.
So good.
Oh, like I didn't write him off, but he's in Marvel movies, and it's like, okay, you're good for that, and you're like a Schwarzenegger, you know.
My favorite fact about Dave Bautista that I learned is that as soon as just after he was cast in the Marvel movies in the Guardians of the Galaxy, he immediately signed up for acting classes. He was like, if I'm going to start doing these acting things, I'm going to start appearing in these movies, I want to make sure I'm able to do as good a job as I possibly can.
That's great, and it shows.
Yeah,
it shows. If you like Blade Runner 2049, that opening scene is heart-wrenching, and it's all from him.
And the short that he's in is great.
I saw it once. I don't remember it.
Because I saw those before I watched the movie, and amazing.
Okay.
And even in Guardians of the Galaxy, he's very, very good.
Oh, yeah. No, he's great. I don't mean
I can't say he's particularly good in Spectre, but he's barely in the movie.
Yeah, I haven't seen that one. So, but at the same time, that's not always the actor's fault, as we know.
No, yeah. Of course not. So then, let's say we're making Blade Runner. We're making Blade Runner 2020, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
What do you want to do with this movie? What's the shape? Like, the shape of the story remains the same. What are the important beats that you think need to happen for a remake?
So for a remake on this, I do feel like the important beats that we have to hit are similar to the original, but just expounded upon more, like capitalism.
Absolutely.
At its core, it has to be a very human story.
Yes.
So I do feel like these beats with this burned out detective have to happen for his journey, right?
Yeah.
Like, I feel like, if we're going to go for it, that's his journey, right?
Yeah. I think that we need to automate his journey as much as possible.
Yeah.
Part of the reason, again, I cut the sergeant, but I think part of the reason needs to be he just gets an assignment, does the assignment, goes home. Sure. Gets the assignment, does the assignment, goes home. It's just the same thing over and over again. Mm-hmm. Very machine-like. It's
punching a ticket. And I actually would want to advocate for him within the story still being an active dude. Still being an active, because in the movie he was
retired.
He has to be.
I agree.
Yeah.
I think being active is more interesting. I think having him be retired gives us this extra layer of backstory that I think does nothing other than obfuscate the actual mystery we're trying to do.
Right, especially if his journey is learning empathy for these creatures, because then it starts with him kind of already having empathy, but not like I quit because I don't want to do this anymore because it's dangerous and
it already started
robots.
It already started with man, killing things is really hard. Okay.
Guess I'm coming back. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I feel like in this version, he needs to be an active, like not just an active, but like the best.
Yeah. And I think like because we start with the void comp test of Leon, I'd love to start with the void comp test of someone else.
Yeah.
And as soon as the result came back as a positive, instantly Deckard kills him.
Yes. Her. Yeah, I agree with
it's
that.
It's just, Like a little green light goes off or red light goes off, Deckard acknowledges it, bang.
And not even an acknowledgement, just a,
Yeah.
I feel like that would be rather jarring. I pulled a gun from under the table for those of you listening at home.
Kevin mimes pulling a full Han Solo
Mm-hmm.
pre-edits.
It could almost be an interesting intro if the replicant that he's interviewing knows and then breaks down and has a moment. So we very clearly draw the line like, you're a replicant and and you're caught and you start crying in that moment. And it's almost like they're begging for their life, but then Deckard doesn't care and just blows them away. Like, I feel like that would be a very jarring moment for to kind of draw the line of...
I like that idea, but let's do this differently. Let's start with the interview, and we don't know what's happening. We don't know what the Voight comp test is testing, and then all of a sudden the other person's killed.
Sure.
I don't think the other person should be aware necessarily of what they're being tested for.
I see.
But here's my changing the stakes a little bit. Is Deckard kills this person, and then steps outside to then begin interviewing the spouse.
Mm.
And the spouse is like, where's whomever, Leon, Rachel, Allison, Paul, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Where are them? It's your turn now. We need to begin. And it's just like, just going from one immediately to the other, and then that person starts breaking down because they know that found out and there's no escape.
Like
so that way we have the mystery of what's going on, and then we get to see the empathy of realization of what's about to happen.
And it slowly reveals,
And that person's like, are they dead? Did you kill them? Are you going to kill me? What's happening? Why are you doing this? And so get a little bit of both.
Sure.
And also you get to establish that these two had other people. Like, they also they aren't just this lone unit wandering through. They already had this another person that they found.
Right. They were just trying to live their lives. Very much like Bautista in 2049, where he did nothing wrong. He was just a farmer.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's all.
Which had nothing to do with what he was trained to do as a replicant, but that's what he chose to do. Because wasn't he supposed to be like a warrior or soldier or something?
I think he was kind of what Leon was, which was like
just
like a
because I think he talked
machine.
about like being in battle and just being overwhelmed by like having PTSD almost or something. Yeah. That's how I would do the opening.
That's actually a really strong opening. I like that a lot.
And then just like back to Deckard going through the motions until finally these four break him like systematically. Like each one of them, something about them
kind of shows him, which I feel like, I mean, if you want to talk about they only have a 4-year lifespan and toddlers are rough, right?
Yeah.
So I do feel like each one of those, and they do it in this movie subtly, but I feel like it needs to be a little bit broader in that, like, Deckard really has to have no empathy at all, and they have to be the other end of the spectrum, which is completely empathetic, and whatever feeling they're feeling in the moment is the only feeling, and whether it's anger, sadness, whatever, it needs to like almost like a bipolar mood swing for them. And I feel like that is an interesting way to introduce why they only have a 4-year lifespan, because they're dangerous toddlers, right?
Of course.
Like with that kind of strength and agility, or they're essentially supermen, but with the mind of children.
There's something I saw at one point. It's going to bother me now because I don't remember what this is from, but it was some robot or cyborg or something that as soon as it was introduced to like elements of humanity and was able to start experiencing emotions, like it got high off of emotions.
Oh, interesting.
And it like rage and anger was really powerful. Like it made this being feel more powerful, and like it used those emotions to motivate it in one way of, oh, this is nice. Nice is good. I can enjoy feeling nice.
Sure.
Sadness. Oh, yes. I'm so devastated that you killed someone I liked. Yes, this is what sadness is.
Huh.
And it's just like those kind of extreme emotions, not true, like, because you haven't figured out what those emotions are supposed to make you feel.
Right.
All you know is that you're feeling them, but not processing them correctly.
Exactly. And how to, what the proper reactions are, how to handle them.
And I feel like that's what a replicant would be at 4.
Sure.
But then as they move past it, because one of the things they do in 2049 is the aging problem has been solved. And Voight comp tests are still a thing, but basically what happens is after someone's killed, you can scan under their eyelid and they have a barcode.
Right.
Which kind of got hinted at in this movie when they're scanning the snake scale.
Yeah,
there was a barcode.
There was like a serial number or something like that.
A serial number, thank you. I'm saying barcode, but yes, serial number.
Yeah, and they had like that is a fascinating addendum to it that everybody has one of those.
Because you're manufactured.
But almost like a Voight-Kampff type test without the machine, right? Like there's like telltale signs. Right. Which is why it kind of could be dangerous, for Bladerunners. Sorry, I'm trying to remember the terminology with some of these replicants.
Yes.
It could even be interesting if Deckard had an incident where he accidentally retired a human, has no feeling for it.
I think the implication of why Deckard retired is because Deckard accidentally retired a human.
Huh. I never picked up on that.
I think that I heard that somewhere, like that's why Deckard retired.
Huh. Okay.
But I don't know that for certain.
Yeah, it's never explicitly called out.
But let's take a step back, because if we're creating Deckard as this object of this kind of like honestly, Deckard's the robot because he's human, but quote unquote, but emotionally dead. We have 4/5 replicants. Which emotion should each of them teach him? Obviously, the last one, Rachel, the emotion is going to be love.
Right.
But leading up to that, what are the emotions that you think each of them should bestow upon him, so to speak?
That's a very difficult one, but a very valid one.
And I feel like that would kind of be the story engine of the new movie.
Yeah, absolutely. I almost wonder, I think the leader, of course, the Roy Batty, the Rutger Hauer, would probably absolutely be empathy.
Yeah, okay, I agree with that.
That's the one that, even though he's batshit crazy, the lesson at the end of the day is empathizing with other people and what their experiences are.
I agree with that. And even though you feel like it's teaching fear, what it's actually teaching is fear is empathy.
Exactly.
Because you experience fear, you know now that others experience fear.
Exactly. And you know what that fear is.
Right?
That's a big one. That's why I feel like he saved him.
Absolutely.
Let him drop off, instead of let him drop off.
You're a person now.
Yeah. Yeah. And I don't want to say, you're a person and I don't want you to die is kind of that lesson.
You experience fear. I know what that's like. Therefore, I feel for you. So I agree. I think that's Roy. So that gives us Pris, Leon, and Zora.
Right.
I feel like Zora might be, like, if we learn empathy through Roy, I feel like Zora might be kind of the instigation of fear just in general. Because the reason why Zora's snake or whatever does what it does is because it's a fear of the whip.
Okay.
Like, you're doing what you're doing not because you want to, but because...
Oh, I see.
You're being forced to out of fear of a worse situation.
Okay.
Because Zora, I think, is particularly tragic because Zora's a pleasure droid or whatever it is, and then escapes just to do the exact same thing on Earth.
Right.
And it's for fear, and
it's almost hiding in plain sight.
Yeah, and Zora was like, I'd love to have a real snake, but I can't, there's nothing I can do that would allow me to afford a real snake.
Right. And she can even... I don't know. Maybe I'm gonna scratch that thought. Never mind.
Fair, but you get the idea.
Yeah, I absolutely get the idea. Especially for her, it's definitely almost like it is the theme of living in fear for sure.
Yeah,
and almost a weird hiding in plain sight.
So I feel like Zora is like the beginning of the bookend and Roy's the end. So like the introduction of fear and then what that fear should mean.
Right.
So fear and then empathy.
Exactly.
And then obviously love at the end. So then we've got Leon and Pris.
I feel like Leon is almost unrestrained anger.
I agree with that.
With just pure, unfiltered anger.
And I think that that's important because if you want to be a functioning member of society, you can't just blindly accept everything that's handed to you.
No, and also...
Sometimes you're getting a raw deal and you should be angry about it.
And at the same time, how you react to that. Like, because you can't just throw a tantrum if you're getting the stick, you know what I mean? Like, these are things that we learn as children, but at the same time... it's anger,
but it's also sometimes well-placed anger.
Exactly.
And directed anger.
Exactly.
Broad anger does nothing. Directed anger gives you drive and purpose.
And so I wonder if it's almost like a directed anger at the human race, period, from him. Yeah. Where it's almost we are the superior... Replicants are the superior beings because of this, but we're shortchanged by this 4-year lifespan.
Right.
Could almost be... the generational argument that's happening now, or a race argument, a metaphor for those things.
I don't necessarily want to paint one group as superior to another, but I would certainly say rage at a system which keeps
Sure.
some people under the heel and keeps others pushing down on the heel.
Sure. That's very much kind of the direction I was
heading, all right, cool.
In my meandering, stumbling kind of way.
But like, one of my problems is always like, well, they've been oppressing us for this long, we should be oppressing them.
Yeah. Which
I think is always kind of the villain argument, but if it's they've been oppressing us for this long, we don't want them to pick us back up. We just want them to stop pressing down with the boot.
Exactly.
We just want them to take their foot off our neck.
Yeah, exactly. And I feel like that's where his anger comes from, almost in an extremist kind of way.
I agree. Okay, good. Anger's a good one.
And then for Pris, I wonder if it's joy. I wonder if it's the opposite end.
I think that's a good one too. I was thinking wonder, but I think joy is better.
Yeah.
Like, because Pris finds so much joy in all these little things over the whole thing. Like, she takes joy in the food, in the light, in the toys, in the this, in the that.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, oh my gosh, I know that we only have so much to live, but all of a sudden, and I know we're scared and fearful of our lives, but look at all these amazing things we get to experience while we do.
Right, and that is very much close to home to the original character, just being in wonder and awe of everything, and almost like a child seeing it for the first time.
Yes, and that very much could be where Pris just has something that she's playing with, and then eventually, like, she ends up having to defend herself. It's like, I don't want to die.
Right.
And then Deckard kills her, and then all of a sudden he picks the thing up, and he finds joy in it too.
Yeah, that could be fascinating.
And he takes it.
Like,
I mean, of course,
it's like her good luck thing.
Yeah, of course, we're for sure turning him into a serial killer, because a mark of a serial killer is kills a bunch of people and then takes something from each one of them.
Yeah,
but I still like this idea.
Society-wise, that doesn't matter because they're robots, right?
Sure, but yes,
if you look at it from his point of view, is what I'm saying.
But I mean, like, taking emotionally things with him.
Right. Oh.
He will take this thing from Pris and it will teach him joy. He's not actually going to take the snake, going to take the...
Misunderstood.
But, it doesn't matter what, serial killers will keep teeth or whatever.
Sure.
Or will take a thing. I don't know.
Lock of hair.
Something like that.
But that's not...
But he's taking emotion.
The baggage.
Yeah, but from Pris, he also happens to take this toy because, you know what, this is fun.
Yeah, or
this ball in a cup is still fun.
Yeah, and also I wonder, just an addendum to that, not that he would take things from everybody, but like a memento or whatever. But I think more of he finds joy in it too, in that he sees what she saw in it, right? That kind of wonder.
Yeah, absolutely.
And not is that what you were trying to say, and I completely missed it, or
no? That's what I was saying.
Okay,
you're good.
Sorry.
That said, I now really like the idea of. Because Roy does this really badass thing. Because Roy's dying. He's right at the end of his rope. And this whole thing is a desperate plea. He's like, please, I don't want to die.
Mm-hmm.
What can we do to save my life?
Mm-hmm.
And Tyrell's like, even if we had something, it doesn't help you. It just helps the next generation.
Right.
Which I found interesting.
Yeah. That's a comment on tech right there as well. So.
But then Roy's like his whole body's kind of collapsing in on himself. And he drives the nail into his hand and to kind of stay, he can focus on the pain, and that way his body still has the fight or flight. He can rely on the fight or flight to keep him going for a little bit.
Right, it releases the adrenaline to keep him alive, essentially.
I just kind of like this idea at the very last moment of he saves Deckard. He's about to die. He takes the nail out of his hand and hands it to Deckard and says, "You need this now more than I do." Deckard takes it. Roy dies.
Oh, that's a fascinating moment. Yeah.
And just well, what are you going to do with this nail?
Yeah.
This was keeping him alive, and he gave it to me. What do you do with that?
Yeah. I mean, that is definitely a powerful ending, and it puts it in an objective way, especially if we keep the unicorn little thing at the end, because then there's Deckard's.
Yeah.
Right,
but it's also this guy was keeping an eye on him, and he's still keeping an eye on him because we still don't know.
Right, exactly.
And that's why they go on the run, presumably.
Yeah, that's it, pretty much.
All right, I like that. I think that's a movie.
Oh yeah, it's definitely lives in the same kind of. To me, good science fiction has a message about society. Yeah,
it's a comment on by taking a look at the future. We're extrapolating things that are currently happening in society to the extreme.
Exactly.
And I think that that's absolutely something that needs to be talked about.
Yeah, and continuing in this remake, that needs to be there in a big bad way, because I feel like that's these bringing the different emotions in is I feel like the perfect engine for that.
Yeah, I agree. Good. Cool. That's a movie. Let's get into casting.
All right, let's do it.
All right. Starting with Rick Deckard, I presume?
Sure, if you want. Unless you want to go backwards.
No, I feel like we need to start with our robot man.
Okay.
Which, there's kind of an obvious casting for Rick Deckard.
Yeah.
So I'm curious if we went with the same person. I had Rami Malek.
I did not, actually.
Oh.
Yeah, I went with David Harbour.
Who's David Harbour?
David Harbour he's been in a couple of things. His most notable is, I'm trying to remember the character's name, Hopper from Stranger Things.
Okay.
So I feel like
people have recommended this guy before.
Probably. I might have.
It's possible. I never remember who I recognize. Oh, that's right. And then I don't remember what it was, but I remember the person recommended them, and I kind of shat on them a little bit because he's Hellboy in the new Hellboy when he's supposed to be really, really bad.
Oh, yeah. I haven't seen it yet either. I've heard it was not good.
Apparently he's good in Stranger Things, but not especially good in anything else.
I would say...
But he's in a lot of things, which presumably means he must be a really nice guy or really good because he keeps getting all of these roles.
I feel like he has the same kind of A, leading man chops, and B, also the cold killer that we need to turn into a human being.
That's fair, too. Which is also kind of why I picked Rami Malek, again.
Both solid choices.
Because he's Mr. Robot, but he also does, like, Bohemian Rhapsody.
Exactly. And I feel like he is
both
an excellent choice as well.
Yeah, they're both good casting.
Yeah.
All right, let's come back to that.
Well,
let's see who we have for our Rachel.
Okay.
Because my Rachel's a bit of a left field pick, but I'll let you go first.
Mine is too, actually. And my Rachel casting also ties into my casting for Tyrell.
Oh, okay.
As well. So for us, for Rachel, I went with Constance Wu.
Oh, okay.
I feel like she can bring the vulnerability as well as that you would need to kind of teach that lesson.
Probably. I could see that.
Yeah, to teach the love lesson, if you will.
Yes.
That's where I was going with that.
All right. That's not a bad pick. My Rachel is left field because I picked an actress named Ashley Tisdale.
Oh, wow. I was not expecting that at all.
No, not at all. Ashley Tisdale she's basically been a Disney actress for her entire career.
Mm-hmm.
Up to recently, she was in something called Carol's Second Act.
Right.
And I think that unfortunately, the role of Rachel as it exists now is really more someone who's very pretty to look at and for other people to react about. I don't think she has all that much to do.
No.
But I also think it's an opportunity to say, to let someone display hidden depths that were previously unseen. And for someone who's kind of been stuck doing Disney stuff their whole life, I think that this is an opportunity. So, which means that a lot of adults will kind of be like, where do I know her from?
Yeah.
So we'll be kind of fascinated with, like, who is this? But while simultaneously being like, she's doing a really good job.
Right.
Because she's never been bad, as far as I can tell. Like, she's always been able to have a lot of fun. But, like, I think this is just a good role for someone to, like, move on from one stage of their life to another. And so that's why I thought it'd be a fun pick for that.
I see. Okay.
Not necessarily tied to that. But that's kind of what I was thinking.
And I feel like this is an opportunity to give Rachel a broader sense. I almost get the sense that she was just almost like a housewife the whole thing until she kills...
She's never done anything.
Yeah, exactly.
And I have all these memories, but they're not mine, which means that I've personally never done anything.
Exactly. Until the moment where she shoots Leon.
Right.
And that's kind of her breaking moment.
Yeah. There is no real age discrepancy. Constance Wu was born in 82. Ashley Tisdale was born in 85. David Harbour's 44. Rami Malek is, I think, 38.
Okay.
So, because they'll sometimes use that to, like, for optics. But honestly, the optics in this aren't particularly bad.
No, they're all...
7 years, even 8, 9 years, not as bad at this point.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like they're dating a 20-year-old.
No, that would be going a little too far. And maybe for some of the replicants, a 20-year-old. I don't know, but
I do have a 20-year-old for Pris.
Oh, okay.
What I think I would like to do is no, but that's the young one and the old one. I don't want to do that. Mm. I was leaning towards Ashley Tisdale and David Harbour, but I don't want to do that because it's like a 9-year age difference.
I mean,
it's not the end of the world.
And it's not, it's bordering on maybe a little creepy, but it's not. I don't think
the whole aspect of this is troublesome because if replicants only are a max of 4 years old, it doesn't matter how old the human is, it's bad.
Right, exactly. And it doesn't,
So the age isn't a huge, but it's also like, yes, I understand that this person doesn't look that, but it's like the same Twilight problem of he may look 17, but he's 200 years old. This is a problem.
Right.
So I'm kind of trying to avoid something like that, but I think when you're dealing with a replicant who has a max age of 4, I think you're stuck either way.
Sure, and it's a genetically engineered adult.
Yeah.
With the mind of a child, essentially, but or
right.
The development, we'll say the development of the child. They know what their job is.
Yeah.
And they know how to do it. But
so my inclination is to do David Harbour and Ashley Tisdale.
I'd be absolutely open to that.
If that makes sense.
Yeah.
Is that okay?
I think it makes sense, especially if we're, like we were just discussing, if they are, truly just a genetically engineered adult. They start life at this age and they end life at this age, essentially.
Yeah.
Because you don't go beyond 4 years.
Right.
That being said, that's... You don't get to age.
No. And I also like the idea of theoretically, the younger presenting person as being older than the older presenting person, which I think would just be funny.
No, absolutely.
I don't know where in this script that would work, because I don't think that actually works for anybody, because the only other possibility is Pris and Roy. And Roy's literally about to die, which means he must be older than Pris. But, that's the other place I would see it. But theoretically, Pris could be about to die also. They could both be 4 years old.
They could be, and just not... She's not... He's showing signs, she's not.
But she will soon. She's showing the signs that he showed 2 months ago.
Right.
Something like that.
Something along those lines, yeah.
But that's my thought for the first 2.
Yeah, I'd absolutely be open to that.
Cool. Then that leads me to Roy.
Okay.
You went first for Rachel. So my Roy is an actor named David Anders.
Okay, I'm not familiar with David Anders.
So I know David Anders specifically from iZombie.
Oh, okay.
Where he plays the bad guy. And I'm going to show you a picture of him in that show now.
Oh, wow. Man, he's perfect. Wow.
So he definitely has the look of Roy, which is kind of why I initially thought of him. But he's been around for a while. He's in iZombie. He's in The Revenant. He's in Heroes.
Okay.
He was in Alias. I mean, he
maybe
also
that's
is
where I know him from, yeah.
38. But, he's excellent in iZombie. He's good in a lot of different things. He's in Once Upon a Time. He's in Stalker. He's in Criminal Minds. He's been around.
Okay.
And he definitely has the look, like I said, because, that's not his actual hair color. He's actually a brunette. But, in iZombie, he's going around with the bleach blonde hair. And I just kind of think it's funny if...
It's like a direct casting or something?
Literally direct casting.
Yeah.
But I also just think he's great, and he's also, is capable of hidden depths.
Yeah. No, I think he's great.
Who did you have?
Mine was a little left field, too. But I think this person... They might be a little old. But I felt that they could bring kind of the almost impish insanity to the role of Roy. So I went with Michael Sheen.
Oh, I can see that. Michael Sheen would be very good. Ooh, Michael Sheen would be very good.
I thought... he's almost like this...
Oh, I'm thinking of a different person.
Oh.
Michael Sheen... Wait.
The British Michael Sheen.
Yeah, no, I'm thinking of... who's the guy who played Zod in the new Superman movies?
Zod. Oh, Michael Shannon?
I'm thinking of Michael Shannon.
Oh, okay. He would be great, too.
That's who I was thinking of. Michael Sheen? No. Did you watch... Good Omens?
I have only seen the pilot.
Where he's playing I'm a fee and whatever. And that's kind of your pick for... I don't know what he's done where he's more evil.
I have seen him in other things where he can turn it on. And I can't actually draw from the specific thing that I saw. But I'd seen him play a villainous role. I think he has the insanity in him to kind of go to these extreme bipolars. My reason for picking him, though, is you don't expect it. You see him and you don't expect that this is where he's going to go. You know what I mean? It's almost like a hiding in plain sight.
I would agree with that notion if he was as truly villainous as we want him to be.
Right.
But I think for our version, I think we need to initially see him and think he's the villain and then learn that he's not really as bad as we think he is. I feel like we need to move in the opposite direction as the one you're pitching.
Okay. And I agree with that, especially with the other folks that I looked at casting.
Okay.
So, yeah, we should, I feel, forgive me, David Anders?
David Anders.
Yeah, we should go with David Anders.
Hey, the fact that you pulled up a name is better than me. I would have been like, the guy you said.
The guy you said, yeah.
Fans of the show will know that I do that, and I always feel bad, but I'm bad with names.
That's okay.
So then let's talk about Pris.
Okay.
My Pris is very young, but I went first for the last one, so go ahead.
Okay. For Pris, for me, I felt like finding somebody who is vulnerable, but also could, in theory, be badass and doing flips and stuff, too, at the end, where it would be somewhat believable. I went with Zoe Kravitz.
Zoe Kravitz is not that young.
No. Wait, what? Are you sure?
I'm not. She's 30.
Okay. Yeah. I feel like that's the right age group.
Oh, okay. I went with someone 10 years younger than that.
Oh, okay.
I got nothing against Zoe Kravitz. Zoe Kravitz is great. Yeah, I think Zoe Kravitz would be an excellent Pris.
She definitely can bring the insanity into it.
She's 6 months younger than me. She's in Divergent. She's in Fantastic Beasts. She's in Mad Max. She's in Big Little Lies.
And the Mad Max actually was the thing that I looked at that went, oh yeah, she can really, really dial it up as an actress. Like she's very versatile.
Yes.
And that's one of the reasons why I picked her is she can go from vulnerable to badass.
That's true. And that's important. The actress I picked is I leaned a little bit more on the weirdness.
Okay.
Because the other thing that Pris is that she like kind of totally fits in with this world of like weird ballerina puppet monsters. And like, oh yeah, no, you're a weirdo. Yeah. And it's great. So this actress was in Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children. Okay. She's in Kick-Ass 2. All right. She is named Ella Purnell. So I went with very young because I think she's...
Oh, wow.
She's 23.
Very young. Yeah. Okay.
She looks younger than I think she is, but 23 is still very young.
Yes, I agree with that.
But she also has a very long IMDb.
Well, when you've been working a long time. Child actress.
She's the young Jane Body Double. She's Dolce in Kick-Ass 2. She's in Sweet Bitter as Tess.
That's where I know her from.
She just strikes me as the sort of person who can appear innocent, be weird and creepy.
And also dial it in. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that was my idea for Pris. I'm perfectly happy to go with Zoe Kravitz because Zoe Kravitz is amazing. And because I'm sure she's perfectly capable of just like doing those things where like kind of like that weird head tilt. Twitch, yeah. And then all of a sudden you're like, okay, something's off with this one.
And then the snap moves and things like that.
Yeah.
I can see
the inconsistent movement.
But at the same time, Ella Purnell looks like she can really, really do that eerily. I feel like she can bring that in. I'd be happy to switch it up to her, too.
Okay, well then let's see.
But
I mean, like I said, you've done this enough times that you pull in good people also. So I'm always very happy to go with your casting.
Sure, no. Well, the idea is let's make an awesome thing, right?
Yeah, but I also try to do a mix. So
sure,
just in case one of us happens to get both of the next ones, which there's a good chance I'm going to. Just saying.
Maybe.
That we'll come back to Pris, and whoever has gotten more up to that point, that's the person.
Sure. Okay.
Because again, both are great.
Yeah.
Zoe Kravitz is a phenomenal actress. But let's talk about Leon.
Okay.
So my Leon, I needed someone big. I needed someone tough. I needed someone who could be a little bit of that emotion, but then also mostly just a large gentleman.
I see.
So I went with Mike Coulter.
Oh,
who is Luke Cage.
Yes. Interesting. I went in the probably exact opposite direction.
Fascinating.
And cast Adam Driver.
Why?
Because he is a kind of a creepy dude.
I'll give that to you.
Mostly ties into his performance as Kylo Ren.
Okay.
Which I feel like is almost Leon, right? Like
sure.
He's young, he's impressionable, he's at mind, not at heart.
Okay, so you were leaning into the anger.
I was leaning into the anger side.
Got it.
Where he's just kind of this unstoppable angry machine. And I feel like Adam Driver, especially those eyes. And while I know Adam Driver doesn't have the same piercing eyes as Brian James was, I feel like he can roll that really quick where his eyes get really big and intense. And
I agree with that too. And I think that's really good for what we ended up doing with the character. I'm leaning more towards Mike Coulter because if you were designing someone to be big, to lift 400-pound armaments and put them places, you would design them to look like
a
Mike
muscular,
Coulter.
Sure.
Regardless of what they develop and the emotions that they pull, in the same way that Dave Bautista looks that way and then went very tender and soft, Mike Coulter could take those same experiences and go the other way and just become angry.
Sure.
But they were both designed to be big, lifty guys.
Right, exactly.
That's why I would be more tempted to go with Mike Coulter.
I agree with that.
I love the idea of Adam Driver because he absolutely can pull the anger. That's no question. He's excellent at that, and he's a great avatar for the audience of being like, oh, I'm so angry, why isn't this the way I want it to be?
Exactly. Which I feel like
he's excellent at.
Yeah.
But that's Kylo Ren.
Yeah, it is. It is, now that you mention it. It is essentially, we'd be casting him to play Kylo Ren.
Yes.
Just a ball of teenage anger. Yeah, let's go with Coulter.
Which brings us to poor Zora. Because the easy implication is to just go with someone who's like, oh, just super sexy because it's the sex worker.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't do that. I went with an actress named, I'm going to pronounce this wrong, Danai Gurira.
I am not familiar with that one either.
You are. She's Okoye in Black Panther.
Ah, okay.
So I want someone who is capable of being very sexy, but then like yeah, that's what I was designed to be, but I'm owning it and going this other way because that's not who I want to be.
Right.
Someone who you could see having a snake and then having that snake attack people.
Sure.
Someone who is scary, but on her terms.
Exactly. Okay. That's fair.
That's my logic for Zora.
That's actually not a bad approach. Mine was and not necessarily go for not necessarily for the sexy, but for the edgy. And I figured Zora was kind of a smaller role. So yeah. I went with Kristen Stewart, who has been lately dialing it in with that kind of look, and
I'll do you one better. If we go with Danai Gurira for Zora, can we make Kristen Stewart Pris?
Yeah, sure.
Because I feel like she's can do real weird.
I thought so too, and I was actually on the fence on placement between my casting of Zoe Kravitz and Kristen Stewart. I was actually I don't know which one would fit which more.
I mean, Zoe Kravitz is really good.
She is.
Zoe Kravitz, I think, would make an interesting Deckard.
That's a fascinating.
That's an idea. Why don't we do that?
Yeah, we can. That's definitely...
I got nothing against that.
I don't either. That's definitely an interesting twist. She can definitely play the gamut of emotions.
Yeah.
But then, that being said, do we keep our Rachel? Our love interest as Rachel?
Sure, why not?
Okay.
Doesn't matter.
Just a question to ask, that's all.
Yeah, I think it's worth asking the question, but...
Yeah, it doesn't matter to me either.
I like our Rachel, and I think that's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I like it. It's weird.
It is weird, which is
also,
perfect.
Kristen Stewart's a really good Pris.
Yeah.
I didn't even think about that. Good choice. My joke now would be we cast whoever the guy was in Twilight, because he'd be a good Deckard also.
Oh, Pattinson?
Yeah, Robert Pattinson.
Sorry. The new Batman?
Yeah, we cast Batman as Deckard, because that would totally work, but I think Zoe Kravitz is better.
I agree with that. Actually, I'd rather have Zoe Kravitz than any of the choices. So
there we go.
Yeah.
Perfect. Are you happy with that?
I'm sorry?
Are you happy with that?
I am happy with that.
Cool.
Let's move on.
Then I have 2 more actor roles.
Okay.
I have Tyrell and I have Gaff.
I have 2 more after. I have 4 more. So I have Gaff, Tyrell. I recast J.F. Sebastian and also the Captain Bryant.
Which one was J.F. Sebastian?
The guy who brought in Pris and Batty. The guy who lives in the Bradbury.
Yeah, I completely forgot about him. I totally should have recast him.
Which the movie did too, kind of. That was his role in the movies. He was just this kind of quiet dude who got forgotten and left behind.
Yeah. Oh, I can't believe
I mean, I feel sorry for him the most in this movie.
I do too.
He's the one who's he's got a brilliant mind, but because he's got a disease, it's almost like a pre-existing condition. You can't move off world.
Yeah, for him, he's almost too human.
Yeah. Very sympathetic.
He just, and that's the thing, he just needs this human connection, which he just can't find So he makes people so he can have this connection.
Mm-hmm. And eventually, the irony is the connection that he makes is with the two robots.
Yeah.
So
I'm sad I didn't recast him. But excellent. Good on you. Let's jump around then. Let's do Gaff, Sebastian, Tyrell, Sargent.
That's fine. Yeah.
So for Gaff, who did you have?
For Gaff, I went with the actor who's actually portrayed a robot on television before. I went with Michael Ealy.
Tell me about Michael Ealy.
Michael Ealy is a very interesting actor. For me, I saw him originally in the show Almost Human with Carl Urban, where it's kind of actually a similar Bladerunner scenario where they're police officers and each one has a robot assigned to them as a partner.
Okay.
And Michael Ealy played the robot.
Interesting.
He has a very interesting look to him. I felt that he would be perfect for Gaff, who is kind of like almost a mishmash of Los Angeles as a person.
Yeah, I got nothing against that.
Like he's just,
Sure.
He speaks many different languages.
Does he really?
Yeah.
Dang.
Oh, not Michael Ealy, the character of Gaff.
Character. Got it.
The character of Gaff.
Oh,
speaks many languages. He's very street smart. I just feel like Michael Ealy will fit in perfectly in that role. And it almost he has this also piercing look as well of like,
yeah,
I'm watching you.
I mean, his image is just up on my screen right now, but I definitely feel like he's watching me right now.
Yeah, I agree.
My Gaff, I just recast Edward James Olmos.
Yeah, he's really great. He's really great in it.
I mean, because I think he's great, and it's because you look at him, and I didn't necessarily recognize him as Edward James Olmos because he looks completely different now than he did then.
Well, not only that, but he's got like contacts and a beard.
Yeah. And I've always really liked him. I didn't think we'd end up going with him because I also think Michael Ealy's probably the better casting.
Mm-hmm.
But also, I was like, yeah, be super interesting if he's just like this avatar of humanity, as you said.
Yeah.
But it's just the same guy throughout. But I think you're probably right. We probably need to go with Michael Ealy.
We could, but I mean, there is nobody. I mean, I am not opposed to recasting Almost because there's nobody who kind of embodies Los Angeles more than him. I mean,
that's true. But let's go with Michael Ealy.
Yeah. Okay.
So now, tell me who you had for JF Sebastian.
So for JF Sebastian, I wanted somebody who was just what we had just discussed about him.
Yeah.
Who really was this kind of like overly human, just searching for a contact, and also kind of like meek.
Yeah,
and
So
depressed.
you cast Michael Sheen again?
I did.
All right.
No, I went with Elijah Wood.
Oh yeah, no, perfect. That totally works for me.
Yeah, I felt Elijah Wood would be perfect for JF Sebastian.
Elijah Wood is so great.
He is.
He plays a really good confused person.
Exactly.
Just overwhelmed. There's too much happening.
Which I feel like is perfect for this character. I mean, if you look at where he lives in this kind of squalor, like supposedly he's this brilliant engineer.
Yeah.
But he lives in squalor, and I can see that as almost like this is the easiest for me. I don't have to worry about X, Y, and Z. I don't have to worry. I want human connections, but I can't do it.
Yeah.
Right? Like, that's kind of how I view him, is he doesn't... Brilliant mind, but doesn't necessarily have the life skills or the street smarts, if you will. Like, I feel like that's that character.
I agree. I think that's good.
Yeah.
Good reading, good casting.
Thank you.
Then let's talk about Tyrell.
Let's talk about Tyrell.
I had initially had someone else for Tyrell, and I don't remember who I cast because I ended up replacing them with Giancarlo Esposito.
Oh, that's good.
Someone who you can't quite decide if they're good or bad.
Mm-hmm.
You know that they are.
They are inherently bad, yes.
But, like, they're probably bad, but they're just charming enough that you're like, are they, though?
Yeah.
I mean, because Jared Leto, he's definitely bad.
Right.
There's no question.
Yes,
he's bad.
He's evil, yeah.
And also the character he plays is bad.
Right. No, I'm all on board with Jared Leto being evil in person.
Yeah, but
in the film, his character is also bad.
Unquestioningly bad.
I feel like Tyrell is perfect in that, where he believes what he's doing, with the whole benefit hazard conversation that they have, what he is doing is a benefit to humanity. He believes his own hype.
Yes.
He is the villain who thinks he's the good guy.
Absolutely. Who did you have?
So for me, I went actually in another kind of mad scientist way. I went with B.D. Wong.
B.D. Wong?
Yes, B.D. Wong. He's played a number of different mad scientists, but most recognizably in Jurassic Park and then later in Jurassic World.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah.
He's the genetic engineer who starts playing God. And he does it so well.
Good.
That's
interesting.
It so well.
Cool. Good. Sold. B.D. Wong. I love it. I think that's a great choice. I love when people pull in actors I'm tangentially aware of, but like, oh yeah, no, that's a great idea. Good choice.
He's a great, like, just plays the cerebral scientist who believes he's right, who believes that there's nothing wrong with what he's doing. And that's
good.
The one who skirts ethics, we'll put it that way.
Yeah.
Which is perfect for Blade Runner, because, rampant capitalism does skirt ethics. So.
And he was the love interest in Disney's Mulan.
Oh, was he really?
Yeah, he's Shang in Mulan. I didn't remember who that character was, but he's a love interest. That's great. I just think it's funny.
Yeah. All right.
So that leaves us with the Sergeant, who you have.
Captain Bryant, who
Captain... Oh, the character's name is Captain Bryant. I'm like, who? What actor's first name is Captain?
His name is... Anyway, I missed that bit. So I threw in Joel Murray as Captain Bryant, because I figured, like, he's a pretty good... He's in Mad Men. He's Bill's brother.
Yes.
He's really, really good at that kind of, like, old, gruff...
Yeah, he'd
captain,
be good.
Hard-drinking captain.
Yeah.
So...
Yeah,
in terms of recasting him.
I've seen him in things before. I've seen him do comedy before.
Same. I used to have drinks with him all the time at IO West. He's a great guy.
That's where I saw him perform comedy.
Exactly.
Yeah, he's great.
He's amazing.
Cool. So. Good. Love it. I think that's a great idea.
Great.
Good. All good people. Great. Then that brings us to writer and director. Now, I have a writer-director as opposed to a writer and a director.
You do, too. So do I.
Oh, really? Yeah. Ooh. Okay.
So
all right.
It's a battle of the auteurs here. Who's going to remake Blade Runner?
Mine's a little bit on the nose. Like, I could see you looking at my choice and being like, well, that person's kind of done their version of this already. But I think they've done their version of this because they couldn't do Blade Runner. I want to see what they do with Blade Runner. And that's Spike Jonze.
Oh, okay. That is a fascinating choice.
The version that because Spike Jonze is a very well-known, well-regarded music video director, but Absolutely. He's also a very, very good director in his own right. Yeah. I mean, I thought Her was very good.
I agree.
And there are a lot of aspects of Her that were then borrowed in Blade Runner 2049.
Absolutely, yeah.
Which is part of the reason why I was like, well, if Spike Jonze was already halfway there, then just let's let him go all the way there.
Let's give him Blade Runner and see what he does with it.
Yeah, I mean, Spike Jonze can already make a very, very stylized world.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
And I think that's something he's very good at.
I think that's an excellent choice. My choice is on the nose in a different way.
All right.
So my guy, also my writer, auteur, has also worked in the science fiction field and has done things that are also explored themes in Blade Runner.
They're good themes.
They really
That's
are.
why we keep making movies with these themes.
Because they're problems. So I went with Neil Blomkamp, actually.
Okay, tell me about Neil Blomkamp.
So Neil Blomkamp, he got his start with District 9.
Yes.
And then also went on to do Elysium, which I feel like is kind of also already a Blade Runner style movie.
That's true.
And I feel like he handles society issues as well as human issues within science fiction realm really well.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
And I would love to see what he does with Blade Runner.
Ooh, he's a good choice.
Yeah. And he, I think Chappie is, I haven't seen it, but I've heard it's kind of close to, Killer Robot.
I've heard it's very bad.
Oh, have you?
Yeah, I've heard that it's just awful.
Oh, really? I've heard it. See, some of the nerds that I know who used to write Star Trek are like, "Oh man, Chappie was great," and I was like, check it out."
I've heard that unless you're the nerd that writes Star Trek, you don't enjoy Chappie.
Yeah, well.
But I also heard the same thing about Elysium, and it sounds like you like Elysium.
I enjoyed the themes in Elysium. I didn't necessarily think that Matt Damon was a good lead in Elysium.
No, probably not.
I liked the idea I felt that that's one that could probably do with a remake. But
Ooh, I'd be down to talk about that at some point.
Yeah, I'd have to rewatch it, but
I would have to watch it for the first time.
Oh, there you go.
Because I agree that District 9 is very, very, very good.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, very good. And it also deals with a lot of these themes.
Mm-hmm. And Elysium 2 was like a really big, 1% versus the rest of us kind of movie. And I feel like the sum of Neil Blomkamp's films so far equal Blade Runner. And I'd like to see...
That's probably true.
I'd like to see what he does to explore these themes.
Oh, that's tough. I like both these options.
Yeah, same. We can always flip a coin.
We could. The reason why I'm more tempted to go with Spike Jonze is because I don't want this to be overproduced. I want it to be underproduced.
That's fair.
Because I feel like that's what makes Blade Runner interesting, is that it's dark, things are shitty, and they don't look futuristic.
At all. No, it's definitely dystopia.
Yeah, the only thing that's futuristic is Tyrell Corporation.
Yes. Uh-huh.
Because that's where all the money and power is.
Which is very indicative of what we're going through in our world right now.
Absolutely. And I feel like that's something Spike Jonze can do, is just like on the ground, street level directing, as opposed to like something like Elysium or and even Chappie kind of has that, but it's still kind of this high technology thing.
Exactly.
Part of the reason these movies have as high a budget as they do is because of the special effects.
Agreed.
But I don't want to rely on special effects. I want it to all feel real.
I am a huge advocate of practical effects, and anything that you can do in camera, I am all about.
Yeah.
So, all right, let's go with Spike Jonze.
And I've watched some interesting things about specifically Chappie and how they did that in camera, and they're super interesting, and I'll send those to you.
Yeah.
But that's why I'm more tempted to go with Spike Jonze.
No, I agree with that. Neil Blomkamp is really, he hits the head of the sci-fi spectrum where, we are overproducing this massive world. And I agree with what you're saying about Blade Runner, is it really does need to kind of be this dark,
boots on the ground.
Dystopia.
They have technology, we don't.
Yeah, exactly.
We are the technology.
And guess what? Everybody at the top of the pyramid has the money, and they're just going to keep producing these things, even though they're illegal and hazardous to our health.
We literally live in a world where the vast majority of our characters are designed to make life easier for the rich.
That's
humans and replicants alike.
So there you go. As of November 2019, we have many of those products in our home as well.
Yeah.
Alexa, iPhone,
Yeah. So let me take you through our cast.
All right.
We have the remake of Blade Runner, which probably should not ever be done, but we know it will be eventually.
Yeah.
Rick Deckard will be played by Zoe Kravitz. Roy Batty will be David Anders. Rachel will be Ashley Tisdale. Pris will be Kristen Stewart. Leon will be Mike Coulter. Zora will be Danai Gurira. I didn't hear it said out loud. I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing that. Tyrell will be B.D. Wong. Gaff is Michael Ealy. J.F. Sebastian will be Elijah Wood, with the sergeant named...
Captain Bryant.
Captain Bryant will be Joel Murray. All this will be written and directed by Spike Jonze. That is our Blade Runner remake. So, one last question for you before I get into plugs. What is your... So, do androids dream of electric sheep, coming up with our animal totem thing that represents us? What kind of animal are you going to get?
That's a rough one. Lion.
Ooh, that's a bold stance to put out there.
It is a bold stance to put out there.
All right.
It's power play.
Yeah, I get it. Going big. I'm for sure going to get a dog. Just trying to be nice to everybody and just so eager to please. Be my friend.
Please? See my tail wagging?
Yeah. Is that food?
You know how much I like food.
I do like food.
Food's
lot. Great. Cool. So, it's been a couple of weeks. What's going on in your world?
Well, I'm beginning to work on demos for a feature film as a composer. So first shot at that.
All good. If anyone's listening and needs a composer, Kevin Mosteller, look him up.
Thank you. You can contact me at kevin@borderlinecriminal.com.
Good.
If you want scoring services or any other post-production.
How about social media? Got any of that?
Yeah. On Instagram, I am at KevMostSteller. And that's about it these days. I kind of hang out on Facebook every now and then, but I've really, really lost my taste for Twitter since our commander-in-chief has taken it.
Yeah, but I like everyone's hot takes on it.
Yeah.
That's fun for me.
They're entertaining to watch from a distance.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to that kind of disengage, not participate. But yeah, I mean, it's the hot takes and the Twitter might be my source of news. That's not healthy.
Yeah, that's kind of why I unplugged from it too.
But at Kev Mosteller.
Yes, you can find me on Twitter there as well, but I don't really use it as often.
So purely Instagram. Got it.
Yeah.
If you're interested in following me, I'm at Sam Gasch, just on Twitter, SamGasch. Instagram, if you want to follow the podcast, it is at Ideal Remake, same as Twitter, at Ideal Remake on Twitter as well, or join us on Facebook, Ideal Remake or Ideal Remake Podcast, to know when all the latest episodes are coming out. If you want to take some time out of your life and leave me a 5-star review, tell you what, I will go through and read all the 5-star reviews that we've been getting on iTunes. That's something I keep saying I'm going to do, and I haven't done it yet. But starting in the next episode, I will do it. Probably, if I remember. I'm recording it tomorrow. Let's see how this goes.
It's 24 hours, man.
Yeah, let's see if any of that sticks in 5 minutes. But yeah, Kev, thanks so much for coming back again and for suggesting this episode. This was a good idea.
Oh my goodness, thank you so much. This has actually been a real treat for me. I love Blade Runner. It's probably my favorite film.
Thank you for loaning me the quintessential perfect Blade Runner.
Yeah, you're welcome.
I like it.
I like it a lot too.
So yeah, good. What's your favorite quote from the movie?
Oh man, I mean everybody goes for the Tears and Rain speech.
It's so good. It's so good.
So good, and supposedly mostly improvised.
Really?
By Rutger Hauer. Yeah, supposedly that was they were just kind of like get into the moment and let him go, and that's
that's fantastic.
Lost like tears in rain, all those moments in time.